Hi, it's Tu. I'm here today with Sharon from Intuitive Shipping, and I'm super excited to talk with Sharon because I think honestly we have a lot in common. And I'm just going to jump in because I know that we both have a lot of things to say about 4-day work weeks.
Yes. Love the 4-day work week.
We too have a 4-day work week. And I think way back when, or a few months ago when we were talking about this, we've had ours on the books for 3 years now. And how long have you implemented 4-day work weeks?
It's been about 2.5 years now.
I know the reasons why we did it. So, did you always have this idea that you wanted 4-day work weeks, or how did this come up?
So even as a kid, I didn't like following rules. I had this piece of me, I'm like, I want to follow them and not get in trouble. But also I'm like, why are we doing that? And it drove my parents nuts because I'd always question just the norms. And at one point, we started about 6 months after my ex and I had separated, and I'm now a single mom. And which a fantastic co-parent, it's so great. But I'm like, oh God, there's a lot to do. Like there is a lot of stuff that I have to get done. And there's only 2 days for it. And it's overwhelming. And I was kind of like, it just made me start thinking like, why do we work 5 days? Like who said this is how it is? Who actually defined the 5-day work week? Why is that the norm? Especially we have how many technologies that move us forward faster? Why are we trying to get more out of our staff? And when I looked it up, there was really no actual explanation. It was just, it just was. And especially in our space, we're making shipping something people care about, and they're starting to understand that it propels their stores forward. It helps them retain customers. So why don't we just go against the status quo here too?
That's amazing. How long did it take you to transition to that, and any steps you had to consider or not consider in that process?
So we're in Canada, in Ontario specifically, and we have very robust labor laws which protect employees. One thing we ran into was that our Employment Standards Act is really set up as in a way to protect the employees. So we had to really jig around the contract and the actual parameters of it to make sure we weren't actually paying for a 6-day work week or doing a 3-day work week when there's stat holidays. Ontario, I believe there's 11 statutory holidays that we recognize legally. So if I'm now having the 4-day work week on the week that there's a stat holiday, I'm now having to pay for an extra day by trying to do something nice. So we're like, how do we circumvent this? Because we're trying to be nice. So that was really the hardest part of it. And one part we thought was going to be difficult is that our clients, our merchants, they operate 5 days a week. So we're like, how do we offer support and onboarding when we want to do a 4-day work week? Our customers do 5. So we decided to keep our customer support having Mondays and Fridays, with some of them working Tuesday to Friday instead of Monday to Thursday. And we had thought, we're like, worst case scenario, this is going to be really hard for people to be like, you know what? I'll take the Monday off. It was a 2-minute conversation and it went so smoothly. And we're like, okay. And it went really well.
That's amazing. It's interesting that you say that because people always bring that up. Well, what about customer service? And in my brain, it was easy enough to say, do that split, which is Monday through Thursday for part of the team and then Tuesday through Friday. It didn't seem super complicated. Probably what you were thinking and what I was thinking is the most complicated part of that is which personalities would take what days.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, totally. And it was actually one of them, she has kids in sports. And the sports games usually fall on Mondays. And she's like, can I have the Monday off? And for her, she loves it because she loves her kids. But when you're with your kids all weekend and you have the Monday off and they're at school and then her husband's at work, she's like, oh my God. She can just breathe and she kind of feels like a little cheat day going on. So it worked out really well.
My Fridays are my cheat days. And I used to say that Fridays were my favorite days because no one knows that I'm not working, right? So I'm not beholden to work or any of my friends or anybody contacting me because I get to do all the decisions on that day, whether or not I want to be social, whether or not I actually want to continue working, or whether I want to take a nap.
That's the thing too. Have you noticed on your end that you almost sometimes by having the 4 days that you officially work that you can sneak in sometimes because you're not so stretched thin.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's the day where I know that it's the work that I actually do that I know I'm not going to get interrupted on. Usually it's reserved for, hey, I want to do this thing, but man, I'm going to do it on Friday because no one's
Yeah.
going to bug me about anything on Friday, right? That's been pretty amazing. And one of the things that people don't really think about, and for us for sure, and I may have said this before, but our retention rate on employees is no one has left in a high turnover industry. I wouldn't say it's super high, but last I heard, and I do ask, is everyone's really happy.
That's it makes you feel good when you actually realize that your people I always look at it where this is my dream. Intuitive shipping is a dream come true realistically. It was Joel and I had thought it up. It was supposed to be a side hustle. And then you're like, how do you make people actually care? Because if you're losing employees constantly, that's expensive. It is
Mhm.
very, very expensive. So when you actually hear that the people who you employ care about your dream as much as you do and they feel valued and they brag to their family and friends, it does make you feel good.
Absolutely. I definitely think so. And I get the feeling that when people say it aloud to family and friends, they know they have a good.
So every year we have 3 strategy days. The first 2 are with the executive team. And then the third one is, hey, this is our strat plan for this year. This is where we're going. And everyone gets on board. So part of it starts with your why. So why do you work at Intuitive Shipping? And most people, it's like, well, I needed a job, which that's realistically, that's why people work somewhere. But I guess that our job postings seem fake. Our most recent hire, her partner was like, "That's not a real posting. They're gonna like this
They're
is
going
they're
to
gonna
trick
like
you, right?
yes, they're gonna do something bad. That's not real." And then it is, and they're like, "That's neat."
I love that. And I think one of the things too why we love intuitive shipping as partners is we align on a human level, not just from a we love our products, which we do. More importantly, these days, that's a big component of it. Values that we share, not as just co-founders or owners of SaaS companies or whatever, but how we treat the people that work for us. I'm saying this aloud, right? That's something I value.
That's the thing is it's kind of a balance between there's some really great people and you're like, okay, our technologies don't really like they don't mesh well together, but you can be like, oh, they're great people, but our technologies actually function in a very similar area and an under I would say understood area of the value that we each provide. But I don't want to do business with people that I don't like. And that's kind of the beauty when you own your company. And it's just like for Joel and I, it's just 50-50. So it's a thing of if the vibes suck, if I'm seeing one of our partners has every time we try and talk to them, there's a new person because, oh, well, this person's gone now, this person's gone. And you're like, "Eh." And what I appreciated was when we were originally supposed to record this, I had walked into the office and got a text from my mom that my sister's cat had unfortunately passed away. It was like right in front of her, by the way. It was very traumatic. And I was like, I need to go. So I'm like driving up to go see her and help her out. And no part of me felt stupid for it. Or you'd be like, if I gave you the real reason, which some people would be like, oh, like, yeah, it's just we had no computer, that all the internet in our area went down, or whatever excuse they'd bring up. It's no, like this happened. And I had the confidence in you as a human that you would understand and be empathetic and be like, yeah, no worries. We'll just do it another time.
I appreciate that. And there's truly no worries. We do this because we want to live good lives.
Yeah.
And that always takes priority over a recording.
That's the thing. It's the recording will always have a place, but in those really specific, unique circumstances, it's you have to be a human. And that's another thing we actually do at Intuitive is when people's pets do pass away, we will give them 2 extra days of paid time off just so they can kind of figure it out. For me, I have a cat. I love him. He is so sweet. And I also appreciate with my staff that when I was like, oh my God. And it's not even my cat, it's my sister's cat. My staff was like, oh my God, that's awful. Whatever we can do to help. So they're all empathetic as well. So it's just this community you end up building. And you're in California, I'm in Ontario. It's probably warmer for you right now, but it's the community that kind of expands beyond just your area, which is cool.
Absolutely. And going back to customers, we do send them handwritten thank you notes. We sent flowers to people if we know that there's like a certain occasion that shows up that we happen to hear about through our customer service. We'll come up with something, oh, like it'd be fun because we have this dialogue with this human and they're going through this thing, whether it's happy or sad.
Mhm.
And we want to acknowledge that part of them. So we'll send out surprises and goodies here and there. And it's not even formulaic. We do it when we feel it's right.
Yes. I love that you just said that because that just brought back a memory from the first year of Intuitive Shipping's existence. We were working with, she was one of our very first users. I think she was a beta user and it was a wine store. And she really helped to like move the product forward in ways for wineries, which we work with a lot now. So her contributions of just being like, this is what I need more of, have helped our product. But we actually sent her because she was having her first baby. And we sent her my mom makes handmade baby sweaters and we sent her one. And like you, we don't do it as a way of, oh, they'll never leave us now. And, to try and move the business and away. It's the feeling of just knowing that you are sending something and it's so unexpected. It makes me feel so good. I'm a gifter. I can't keep gifts. I'm like, I want to show you what I have for you, but I can't because your birthday's not yet or Christmas isn't. Like, I am that person where I am like an intense gifter and I love when I find something that's so unique and cool. So I love that you guys are like that too, where you're like, hey, like this is really cool. Like you just did this, whatever it might be. Like here you go. And that's something that they'll always remember.
I see. I knew why we were aligned.
Yeah.
Well,
You're wearing a cooler jacket than me though. You're wearing like you guys have this cool Cleverific jackets at the
oh
thing.
yeah.
And oddly enough, by the way, you're in California wearing a knit sweater and I'm in Ontario wearing a silk shirt. So like we're
That
just for each other's climates, right?
Absolutely. That's pretty funny. You said something. I actually want to go through back to this a little bit because we're in California and we're in the wine industry. I know from firsthand wine has some unique shipping things. And talk to me how you can help solve that.
So one, if they have extra, I can drink it. We're actually in the wine region of Canada. So we're Niagara on the Lake is 20 minutes that way. It's super close to us. So for wineries, it's heavy, it's fragile, it's also regulated. So how do they ship it to an actual consumer, even in the case of because it's wine, but in the situation where they're selling to a restaurant orders a lot more wine than a regular consumer would, or I guess probably should at that point. We can actually have them separate the profiles based on wholesale versus retail customers. So they'll have a tag. So let's just say too, you own a restaurant and you order a lot of my wine, you would actually have an account, you log in and you're getting just kind of pricing and you're having the rates at checkout make sense for the actual volume of wine that you are receiving and to make sure that we're charging the exact accurate rate. And what that looks like is typically case-based packing. So we know this box can fit 6. This box can fit 12. And we know how much, like it's pretty similar cost for it, but they know the weight of it. And they'll actually send it off to the carrier they use. So that if it's Canada Post, USPS, they'll send it to them and return the accurate rate. Because if you're selling something like wine, why would you want to sell it and not make a profit? That just doesn't make any sense. And interestingly, one of our customer support representatives, he worked at a local brewery before working here. So he was their logistics manager. And beer has a very similar issue to wine. And he worked in the warehouse and he actually had found intuitive shipping. And he's like, this is a solution. Like they're actually maybe making on the sale of case of beer, they're maybe making by the time shipping losses are taken into account, $8 a profit. And it's in most that was eaten by the shipping not being collected properly. And he was like, guys, like we need this, we need this. And they're like, oh no, it's fine. And now he works here. And one of his favorite customer types is breweries and wineries because he actually has lived it. So when they talk to him, he can actually speak exactly to the frustration that he experienced when he worked in the exact same space. So it's a cool full circle moment that just helps.
That's amazing. Now, tell me, I think sometimes there's also weather issues with wine, right? And when you can or can't ship.
So it depends. So there's sometimes a lot of times wine requires a signature. So it's
Mhm.
not as nefarious might be the word or bad as beauty products because
Sure.
I'm thinking of times where I have ordered moisturizer and it's more of like a balm texture and I order it in the middle of the summer and it arrives and it's melted.
Right, right.
So with wine, at least it's can be signed, so it's not as much of an issue. But the regulations of state to state and province to province can become really dicey and where things can or cannot ship to, especially when a store sells wine, but also things like wine glasses or carafes or little knickknacks. So, how do you separate those out? So, wine has to have a signature because it's a regulated item. It can't ship to these provinces or states, but anything else we offer can go anywhere for a lot cheaper. So, we help our merchants to control that so the experience at checkout makes sense financially and also just from an actual consumer lens because shipping at checkout, if it makes no sense, if the rates are just you're like, why is it so expensive for this? You're going to abandon the cart.
Right. So walk me through an exact example of that. Say I bought a shirt and
Mhm.
some wine,
Yep.
right? How does that get set up? What does the customer see? What's that end-to-end experience for a merchant and a customer?
So the merchant will just work with us. We ask them a lot of questions, which can be a lot for them, but the more detail you give us, you have to do it one time and it's set up. And every time at checkout, the exact customer expectation that you're hoping them to see and that's going to protect your bottom line will happen. But for the actual end user, they're seeing rates that make sense. So you can even tell them they're shipping promotions. It can be a thing. If you order 24 bottles, shipping is 30% less because their margin is now so high on it, they can actually offer a bit of a discount on it. And really for the end user, it's just setting expectations. So if I'm ordering wine, I have to sign for it. You have to actually have an ID. But if I just love whatever like cheeses they sell, like that I don't need to sign for that. Or if
Right.
I want to, I can. So the end user just has the customer has an experience that is streamlined that makes sense and actually makes them choose direct from that winery instead of going to a liquor store to get it.
That's amazing. Speaking of shipping and shipping odd things, I have to say, full disclosure, the weirdest thing I've ever had shipped to me was a vanilla lobster, meaning albino crawfish as a pet
Like
delivered.
is it, do you still have it?
No, unfortunately, it
No.
passed a few years ago. Yes, so that is my oddest oddest shipping package I got, and I had to be super meticulous about
Yeah.
when it arrived, and they had a window of get this thing between 10 and 12. I'm pretty sure this was in the summertime as well, where
Yeah.
I
And you're
had to
like,
get
ooh.
I had live being into its
Yes.
new home in a certain amount of time. So I thought that was just kind of a fun thing to share when we're talking about unique shipping scenarios. What's the oddest thing you've had shipped?
Personally or one of our
I,
clients?
like the oddest shipping scenario or the oddest personal thing that you got?
For me, I just order everything you can possibly think of online. So I'm like, but for me, I'm like, is it even weird? Probably not, maybe. I don't know. What's actually more so one of our stores, I love this. Almost like a trip down memory lane for me that you're not even attempting to create. But we actually had a store that did sell fish, tropical fish and stuff like that. And it's just so interesting how our app can really just mold and shape to whatever type of requirements, however outrageous they may be or might seem to us, that's somebody else's normal. So your baseline isn't somebody else's. So for them, this is an issue they're facing every single day as an online store. And then for you, like actually as the end customer, did you feel the experience when you're ordering it made sense? Is there enough information on the site for you to feel confident that like you wouldn't have a dead creature arriving?
This was a few years ago, so I definitely felt comfortable, and I think part of it was the merchant over communicated that I needed to be available and needed to make sure that this was the time, right? So a
Yep.
couple of things happened was they communicated a couple of times to me that, "Hey, this is a live thing. Be be available." And then the second part of that was it delivered in the window that it said it was going to
Thank
deliver, right?
God. That's something that drives me insane. I don't know what your I think is oh, you guys have what is it? There is a cable company. I don't want to like name names and say anything bad about them, but I hear a lot of Americans complain about the cable company and how they'll say they're going to be between like 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. They're like, what? So
Yes.
just the fact they actually showed up, because I've actually had it where I think, what did I order? It was a couch. Why not? Very normal thing to, which is also interesting actually ordering that online now. But they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, it's gonna be between" I chose the window, and they didn't arrive on time, and I was like, "Oh, okay," and I had everything moved, and I didn't have my couch anymore, and I'm expecting the couch, and it didn't show up when it was supposed to, and I'm like, Why?" And even for this office, because we moved in, I think, 3 months ago now, and we just renovated this from scratch, and we were ordering a couch for this office, and they didn't offer the option to schedule delivery or even to, have a thing of like, even if you don't want to schedule, because also depends on where the actual store is located, because they might be shipping from, let's say, BC. They might not have the same kind of delivery option on the network to Ontario. I can understand that. But then why not have it so we can just extend the delivery out? You can actually off that at checkout using it to say, like, oh, hey, like ship in 2 months, 3 months, even if that's what you want to offer, because you're not sure of the actual expectations or realistic delivery timelines when it gets to actual end user. But for me, I was so frustrated. It was on sale. I'm like, okay, like this is going to sell out. This is coming close to Black Friday. I'm like, you want this couch? But we didn't actually have the unit yet. And I wasn't sure when it could be delivered. It was just an unnecessary friction point. Like we got the couch and stuff, but if you can reduce the anxiety somebody feels, especially in today's day and age where we are all so overloaded with responsibility and just notifications and everything feels urgent because everyone can call and text you and stuff. If you can remove some friction from somebody's life, it really, really helps them become a repeat customer and to speak very kindly of you.
Absolutely. It's the same thing I feel that you're feeling where sometimes not just co-founders, but we're also customers and
Yeah.
consumers at the end of the day. I think you said the same thing that I've said where, oh my gosh, if you could only use our app, I would have had less headache here.
Yes.
I just wanted to change the shipping address and you just wanted to have more clarity on when to ship.
Too. Do you want to hear something so funny? It's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. The office, it was from scratch. Everything literally is like brand new. And I ordered these two custom floating shelves for above in the kitchen area because we had moved the address and stuff. And then because it's a Shopify store, and sometimes Shop Pay overrides my address, depending. I try not to do if it's going to, I didn't even know that it had overridden to my address. And I went through, I'm like, crap. And I'm like, well, this can't go to my house because like it was literally, I think the actual packaging, because it had this thick styrofoam. It was about 7.5 feet long. And I'm like, how can I get that? Like, so I'm like, okay, cool. I email right away. And they're like, yeah, not a problem. We'll make sure to send it. Then I follow up again, being like, hey, just want to verify, like, because I know you guys are probably busy because of Black Friday, but here's the address again. Just want to make sure it's sent to the right address. Like, yeah, not a problem. It wasn't updated. So like all of a sudden, just at my door, I open my front door and there's this gigantic, I'm like, oh my God. And I live alone and I am attempting, because it's also taller than my door. And I'm like, how do I like get in and not break mirrors and stuff? So had they used Cleverific, that would have not happened. And yes, it's a thing where the product was great and all this stuff, but it just was so annoying. And then I had to like
Absolutely.
get someone to help me. And it was a lot.
It's just too much unnecessary friction, as we were saying,
Uh-huh.
because when you get it shipped to the wrong place, what do you do? Do you return it? No, probably not. If it's just down the street, now you have to solve multiple other problems, like how do you get this from find the time, first of all, to get it from
Yep.
A to B. If you're lucky, it fits in the car, like you say. Well, it probably didn't, right?
I have an SUV and it barely fit because it was just awkward. It was very long and it was very, very well packaged. It was like this thick of styrofoam all around it. But yeah, it barely fit. I just picture if I lived somewhere like New York, I would have been like, I guess I
Right.
have 2 really long shelves at my house now too, because like I wouldn't know
Right.
what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely been there before. Yeah, it's always a pain in the butt. Like even just the email process of having to
Yep.
coordinate and wait for a response is just I think really unnecessary considering how much noise and the fact that people have busy lives. Like it's just
Yep.
two less emails you have to send if you can just press a button.
Find a lot of times too, I forget which purchase it was, but it was something it was deodorant, which is it's a good deodorant, but there was an issue where it was just like broken. Like I would try and twist it and it would just like not do anything. And I'm like, Okay, like, what do I do?" And it was the back and forth of like, "Hey, this is an issue." And they're like, "Oh, like, what would you like us to do?" And it's just like, just send me another one. Just send me a replacement." To me, it was like, just send a replacement. But it was a back and forth. And then they had to also verify my shipping address. And I'm like, why would it
Right.
have changed? So it took so long. It took almost a week of back and forth to deal with something that could have just been so easy. Like, so easy.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement
Yep.
in customer service that probably people are overlooking, to be
Mhm.
honest. And our solution is part of that. But one of the things that I want to ask is what are the shipping problems that nobody talks about?
Oh my goodness. One is that no one really knows who should be handling the shipping experience at checkout. And the reason why is because it hits so many different departments. So we have marketing because they want to make sure if there is a marketing promotion of let's just like there's a children's store who does this, where if you order swimwear, because swimwear is such, especially in Canada, we have like 2 months of nice weather. Okay. So it's like they'll have a thing when swimwear has a very high margin on it. And they're like, hey, order swimwear, order ships free. Even having like that. So marketing's like, yeah, let's make sure that follows through to the actual checkout. And they're spending so much money to get customers to actually add the item to the cart for it to fall apart. But then you also have the finance team, which cares about the margins. They want to make sure that things are being charged for properly. But a lot of times, stores don't realize that after it depends on your volume, but the shipping provider you use will invoice you for extras. So if you say, oh, like it was a 10-inch box and it turns out to be 11, or it just for whatever reason something's mismeasured, they're going to invoice you for that later. If there are sometimes they'll charge for like the missed delivery attempts, so having to resend it back to the original sender because you have to think they are now doubling their work because they're now having to reverse it going from your warehouse to the customer. If there are too many failed delivery attempts, it's going all the way back to the seller. So a lot of stores don't really even know how to properly account for it because their systems are so disconnected. Like if you use QuickBooks for your accounting and you're using, even like NetSuite for, your back end operations and stuff, are they connected properly? Are you properly accounting for them? And then you also have the customer support team, which is often overlooked. They deal with so many complaints and inquiries of where's my order? Because a lot of people will do express shipping on a Saturday. It's not shipping till the Monday. So your one night shipping is not going to happen. Now you're
Right.
refunding the shipping there. You're having people having to answer questions of where is it? Why did this happen? Why is this happening? This doesn't make sense. If you send it two different shipments because, item A is in warehouse in New York, item B is in the California warehouse, they're going to ship separately. Communicate that. Just have a thing of your order will arrive in multiple packages. This way, the customer at checkout is like, okay, cool. But when we don't do that, we're creating this unnecessary burden on the customer support team, which then ends up directly impacting marketing and retention because now I'm irritated for something that shouldn't have happened, that could have been answered. And like you said, over communicated.
Right. Absolutely. It's one of the things that surprisingly, when you say this, when we ask people about how much they are spending in reshipping,
Probably a
they
lot.
don't know.
And probably a lot.
Yes, and it's interesting how it's not tracked, and it makes sense now that you're saying if no one owns this specific
Yep.
space, it's hard to get that information, or no one's prioritizing
No.
this specific area of the business, then how do you track that information?
I think it's for us, like Intuitive, we're very like actually like each other. It's very nice. Like a really great environment that we all work in as the person who created it. But for us, we communicate. If one of my customer support reps is like, this is an issue, this we're experiencing this a lot, that's when I'll be like, okay, that does sound like an issue. And that's where I'll just go in, be like to the devs, hey, do you guys have time on this sprint to just edit this one thing? And they most of the time, we'll prioritize that unless there's something else that is just has a higher priority, but we actually do it. And we also can go to each other. There's not also the thing of, two people vying for promotion and like, trying to like just undercut the other person. But at
Right.
other companies too, if you think about how much information you have to gather to properly set up Intuitive or maybe even sometimes Cleverific to really get the most value from what we offer, we don't know the actual relationship that our contact point has with the rest of that company. Are they somebody no one listens to? Is it just, Sarah from marketing who got there as assigned with this because no one really knows who to put on it? So it's something that we operate in this gray area of checkout where people think of payments. They just think of, oh, payments, cool. But it's like, bro, there's so much more to it. And it's also not sexy. I think it's
Right.
fun. I think it's so cool. I love solving problems. But realistically, it's a lot more fun to visually and to just talk about an ad and be like, this campaign's really cool. It's so much more fun than, well, how are we going to charge for shipping? Like, what do we do at the warehouse? What kind of boxes do we use? That is not a fun conversation. And I
Right.
understand that, but it realistically and where commerce is going, where people are going, people expect a streamlined process. And if you're not doing it, your competitors are starting to. And people
Absolutely.
are going to prefer shopping with a store who makes it easier and who doesn't have that anxiety feeling of, for me, I put the wrong ad. I put it in. That was 100% my fault. I own it. But also I tried to rectify it. It didn't get changed because I'm assuming that person just didn't go in and update it in the order backend, probably just forgot. But with Cleverific, it would have actually been done. And I wouldn't have had to have this gigantic long package like seatbelted into my car.
We've talked about shipping problems nobody talks about, but what do people assume is easy on the flip side of that, but it's actually not in shipping?
I think they just think that the whole process is easy. So the amount of times that we have the most panicked, freaked out contact point at a company who is like, we're going live in 2 days and this isn't working properly. So people just assume shipping's free. They're like, okay, cool. Everyone else is doing it. Obviously it works, but converting doesn't actually necessarily equate to being a profit. So I'd rather make money on an order than just be sending stuff out and barely breaking even if that. So I think people just assume the whole process is easy. And then I think that they almost get or uncomfortable at how much they didn't know. Like, you know how there's, I don't know the quote, but when you learn something new. So if I just decide I want to start learning about a lot about like cats, which I know a lot about them, but I'm like, I don't know so much about cats. And all of a sudden I start learning about it. And then in learning about it, you're like, I don't know anything about cats. So there's like the discomfort of like, oh, okay. And then when it's in a business, do you really want to go down that rabbit hole as keeps expanding with more stuff you can do? So it's an interesting just space and shipping is not, it seems easy if you just break it down, someone makes an order, you ship the thing to them. You're like, that's easy. And stores realize that once they start operating and if they start looking into their finances to figure out where are they losing money? Why is it we're only charging this much at checkout, but our actual shipping line item, because now we have all of our, extra charges from the carrier, we've actually not really netted that much profit now because of these just additional expenses.
Your merchants see you as experts like they see us over time? Because we end up answering all kinds of questions that are not even in our space per
Yep.
se, but because we have answered like the questions in our space like so well, they feel confident that we can answer the question in other parts of either Shopify or e-commerce because they know we'll give them a straight answer or we'll go do some research for them, right?
I love that you asked that because it is something we face too. It's so neat. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, like you get that too. Because people, just from a level of the support we offer, one of our most recent reviews did actually say that everyone I've interacted with seems like a senior representative. So even our newest person seemed very senior and knowledgeable and stuff. And a lot of times our merchants will come to us before they go to, maybe they're not sure why a rate didn't come back. Like they're like, this was mismatched. Try and work with us as much as they can before going to the shipping provider, because they don't know who they're going to get at that company. And we can at least even guide them with the proper language and be like, hey, here's a screenshot. Even in the Shopify settings where we're like, you just go here. Like, so it's in here now, it's hidden, or this is a bit wonky. You have to go here and this will actually touch this over here. They're like, oh my God, thanks so much. So it is kind of funny how we become these so much more than just support for the products we offer. It's support and everything else, which I wonder if other companies, because I think you're coming from the lens of that's really cool. And that's my lens of like, that's so cool. But I think that some companies might look at that as like, well, why are we supporting that? That's now I'm paying money for you to support something we don't even do. But it's a thing of like, it just keeps people, and it's just being human. And also being able
Absolutely.
to talk to a human, interact with one is something that's so hard nowadays.
Yes, we definitely were aligned on the fact that one, we really think about the human component of things, but also we're in the service business, right? We
Yep.
want our customers to be successful and we want to help where we can. And that doesn't mean that everything goes back to like a transaction where it benefits us. We'll help customers craft the right email or have them ask the right question to the person who actually can solve the problem, right?
Yep.
Like that's not our app, it's someone's app or it's Shopify, but this
Yep.
is what you'll need to ask them when you talk to them, right? We want them to be successful. That's essentially at the end of the day. And that has sometimes something to do with us and then sometimes it doesn't.
It's actually what I compare that to is like invisible reach. So recently, I think it was last month. It was either, I think it was November, because right before Black Friday, we had actually started in the API that we listened to, which we had early access to. Shopify started sending information of I think the post discount pricing. So this way, if someone does like a 50% off and their order wouldn't now qualify for free shipping, but we wouldn't hear any of the information. We wouldn't be sent the data of this is a problem. So then people were actually like losing money. And we had posted about this. We're like, hey, like, this is a change. We're really excited. This is what this means for Black Friday. Such great timing. Like, thanks, Shopify. We had so many DMs. That post, like, it didn't really have that much interaction. It had, I think, one comment and like 7 likes. We got so many DMs from other partners and even other apps in our space being like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. We didn't even know that because Shopify didn't even announce that this
Right.
change happened. They didn't put in a change log. We just knew because we'd worked with them on it. And we'd like maybe been harassing them a little bit. It was one of those things of the silent influence that you have is so cool. So yes, are you helping them with your app at this point? No. But are you helping them to actually then improve the platform that they're working with? That's so cool. Like the influence that we have that we don't even know is happening.
Absolutely. We need to do in-person chat. You're totally invited over I think we do have sun today, but if you feel
I
like
love
you need to,
California is my favorite place.
have you been to Santa Barbara?
I have not.
You are personally invited. I will drive you up to the wine country. It's been a really great time having this conversation with you, and I'm actually excited to have more conversations in the
Yes.
future. Thank you so much for your time today. It
Thank
was
you for having
pretty
me.
amazing to have like this in-depth conversation with you. We'll be chatting again in the
We
future.
will be. We will be.
Thanks. Bye.